I was facilitating a changeover reduction event for a whiskey bottler in the middle of winter. This would be their first Kaizen in factory history. So we did a lot of preparation to set the team up for a win. And on day one, because they had very little if no experience with Kaizen, did a bunch of training early in the morning. Now on day one of the changeover reduction event, after training, we go out onto the manufacturing line and observe the crew doing the changeover their standard way. We observe it, we look for waste, we look for opportunity, and we time it. Then on day 2 and 3, the team, based on improvements, will do the changeover. And then on the final day, we give it back to the crew to try. That was the idea. Now on day 1, after all this training, it took over 7 hours for the crew to complete the changeover. So then the goal for the event would be to cut the time in half, down to 3.5 hours. So after a long bit of training and 7 hours of changeover observation, I brought the team back into the meeting room, as tired as we were, and we shared our observations and ideas for improvement for the next day. After a very long day, we all went back to our homes, or for me, to the hotel. And when I got back to the hotel, I found out that a pretty bad ice storm was predicted for later in the week. And it was pretty certain that it was going to happen. My concern, of course, were for the people in the plant, but of course, for me as well, would I be able to get home? Now, on day 2, morning, the team organized themselves to work on 4 critical projects to improve the changeover for testing later that day. Those 4 were parts and equipment preparation, visual standard work, coordination of resources, and certain equipment that needed some programming improvement. Just a little after lunchtime, we were ready to try out our changes. So this time, we let the crew observe us. And for the next 2.5 hours, we were able to change over the line successfully. Now, we'd already beaten the goal, but maybe this was a fluke. So we got back in the meeting room extremely excited and ready to identify some more improvements based on what we learned that we could try on day 3. And unluckily, the weather was getting worse. Looked like the prediction was going to come true. Now, on day 3, the weather was still clear, but it looked like things were going to get pretty rough pretty soon. But we implemented our newer improvements, and we tried out our new changeover process. Again, it was a team, not the crew. The crew again got to observe us. And although we didn't beat our 2.5 hours by much, we knew we had a winner. We knew we had something that was going to be really helpful to the people that worked at the factory. Now, when I got back to the hotel on day 3, the weather report looked really bad for day 4. And sleet was already coming down middle of the evening, middle of the night. I just had a rental car. I wasn't far away, so I thought, well, at least I can come into the plant and hopefully most of our team will show up. So on day 4, the team, except for one person that lived over an hour away, came in. So everybody was there, but the crew across the plant mostly stayed home. Very few people even came in, and the plant recognized for their safety, giving them the option of to not come in. But we still wanted to try our new process. We had a few more improvements from day 3 that we wanted to implement, and then we wanted to teach the crew how to do the changeover. Well, we didn't have a crew from the line except maybe 1 or 2 employees, and we needed 6 or 7. So we basically shut down the other lines and cobbled together a crew of people who, some of them had never even seen the line that we were going to change over, and a few of them had never done any form of changeover in their careers at the plant. This was the perfect test. So what we did was we paired each crew member with one of our team members who would show them the procedure and then coach them along the way as the crew member did it without the team member intervening, except to remind them of how to use the new tools and the preparation and the procedure, and coach them along the way. So they started the changeover, Everybody seemed to be doing well, and just over 2 hours later, we were done. And the line was running really well. Well, people were absolutely amazed. And clearly, this was the best test we could have ever asked for. Now, when I drove back to the hotel after this, we got everybody out of the plant as soon as we could. It was sleeting so hard, and I was driving probably 7 miles an hour to get back to the hotel. There were no restaurants open. I was starving. Luckily, right across from the hotel was a Waffle House. And there was one person working in the Waffle House, and I was so happy, and I waited my turn to get some food. And those people that work there, they're just amazing that they put up with anything. But apparently Waffle Houses never close down. So very fortunately, the weather cleared up for day 5, and the team was able to reconvene and completed all their work and put in the elements of the wheel of sustainability so that that 2-hour performance could be repeated over and over again. Their determination to win was stronger than the ice storm and just totally inspiring. I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.